have Sheila's tray for bond.
01582. Okay, and now I want to welcome all visitors that we have with us today here in public and on Zoom. And I will now lead the pledge. Okay. All right, right hand over your heart, ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, moving right along here, we will have trustee comments. So we will start with trustee Ferrante.
Since last week.
Okay. All right, trustee LaChapa.
All right. It's summertime. I got to attend some graduations, some promotions. Looking forward to a nice summer break. And before we know it, school will be starting again. That's my report.
Thank you, trustee LaChapa. Trustee Wiseman.
Okay, I was able to attend at least a couple hours of Tuesday's PD on participation by design by Grace Dearborn. It was really a great PD. The teachers were getting a lot. She was getting us up and moving and showing us how to engage kids in different ways. And I'm thinking, and a couple of the principals were there with me, and a lot of the teachers. And I thought, what a good tool to have in your toolkit to try to make kids accountable, so that they can't just sit there silently and you don't know if they're learning or not. And also for principals, a great way to coach new teachers on strategies to get kids involved and make sure that they're speaking and sharing their thinking in class. So that was fun. So that's the only thing new since last week. Thanks.
Thank you. And then I have no report since last week. Okay, Lisa, we will now move to public comment. Do we have any members of the public? Okay, we have no public comment. We'll now have Brooke Fagan, principal at River Valley Charter, give us a report. Welcome.
Some declining enrollment, pretty significant declining enrollment, and we're still trying to climb out of this seeming abyss where we can't correct it. And we ended up, our P2 in 2020 was 300.9 students. This past February, we dipped to 229.58. And for us, that is incredibly significant. If you remember last year when I ended up presenting, I explained that we had students who ended up leaving. We had a lot of families who actually moved, but we also had students who ended up leaving in part because we ended up not opening until much later in the school year. We didn't meet that threshold that we needed to meet in order to open up early. So we didn't open until February or April of last year. When our students were attending classes via distance learning, we did not hold harmless their grades. Our students still had to complete their work. They still had to turn it in. For us, it counts as the attendance. And so we did not forgive the grades that the students ended up earning. We faced, unfortunately, some pushback from that because our students realized, hey, all of these other schools are just telling their students they can maintain that grade and, you know, they get that grade. Well, for us, it's a little different. That played a factor in some students leaving, and students recognized that distance learning did not necessarily work for them. But then we, on the opposite end of the spectrum, we actually grew, and I'll show you in just a minute, in terms of our full IS program. So we were faced with a lot of challenges that we're still trying to pinpoint and identify exactly what the root causes of this declining enrollment is. We have hired, I don't know if you're familiar with the company School Mint. We have hired School Mint to help us with our, to help us boost our enrollment. Our website is in need of a massive overhaul. But we also have to get the word out and we have to engage families. And we have always traditionally been a school that has operated via word of mouth. And that is no longer working for us. I am not a social media guru. And so we have to find people online who are in our school who are able to do that. And it's one of those things that if you're not, it's not part of my everyday activity. So I don't think, oh, we should post this or we need to update this. So for us, it's really been important to bring somebody in from the outside to do an honest assessment of what it is that we need to do in order to market ourselves, brand ourselves, and get us out there in the community. So with our declining enrollment, some of the bad news that I had mentioned stems specifically from our enrollment, and it's tied to our budget. Fiscally, we're doing okay. We have a healthy reserve going into next year of slightly more than $1 million. But we need that because we, as I'm sure you know, non-classroom based schools are not going to be eligible for hold harmless funding. You saw the dip in the enrollment. That's a significant loss to us of roughly about $700,000. And facing these challenges, we've had to tighten our belts. We've had to be creative with our scheduling, with our teachers, with our, we actually try to attract teachers who hold more than one credential. And for us, it's really important to bring people in who can teach multiple classes. So we have the trifecta in science. We have somebody who holds a physics, a biology, and a chemistry credential. We have an English teacher who has a French credential. And so for us at the secondary level, this is really critical, and it's helped us to really maximize our resources. And at this point, we are still in the game of trying to adjust our schedule, see what it is we can offer, try to find alternative means of being able to offer the classes that we need to offer for students to meet the A through G requirements to gain entry into the UC system. But it's been challenging. And we're hoping that with the marketing and with the ability to get ourselves out there, that once we do boost enrollment, we can take some of the pressure off of the teachers who are now having to teach all of these different classes and get them focused on just teaching one or two classes instead of, I have one teacher who's teaching 5 different levels of a subject, which is really hard. At the secondary level, it's incredibly difficult. With our academic achievement, this is NWEA information. This is not information from CASP scores. I'll update those and I'll send those to Beverly once we end up getting those. Our academic achievement, if you notice with the math, we had this issue last year where the NWEA does not have normed scores for integrated math 1, 2, and 3. So I put on here information so you can see the improvement of the students between the fall administration as well as the spring administration. Overall, for the integrated math courses, 78% of students had an improved RIT score between the 2 administrations. You'll notice the low numbers in grades 9, 10, and 11 for the math assessments in the fall and in the spring. That's because the number represented here are the numbers for the Math Growth 6+, which is what I'm assuming Lakeside students take. And we want to do the integrated math pathway because that's what we teach, but we don't have the normed data. But the RIT score does tell us whether or not they have made improvement beyond the prior administration. We've always had very high scores when it comes to students in reading, obviously, especially at the higher level. The 12th grade, just to go back to math, the 12th grade with those students, these are students who are taking calculus and beyond, pre-cal calculus and beyond. So their math, they actually, the test when they take it, because it is computer adaptive, it takes them so long to take the test because they keep getting all of the answers right. And so our seniors, sometimes we have to bribe them with pizza parties and some good stuff in order to get them to come in and take the test, but they've been successful. With reading, our students have always been successful when it comes to reading. We have a small percentage of students who are classified as EL students, and our students have generally tackled reading. Our issue is not necessarily reading. Our issue that students experience in terms of academic achievement is subject-specific vocabulary. And that's a challenge for us, especially as they get up into the courses of physics and chemistry, pre-calculus, calculus. And so we are working on that. Some of those scores that you'll see where there's an ebb and a flow, the students have not completely mastered. So we do have room for improvement in both math and in English, and something that we're constantly cognizant of. As you know, as an independent study school, our funding is tied specifically to students' work completion. So our ADA has always been pretty high. We range anywhere between 97 and 98%, sometimes upward of 98%. We have to get on students. Our master agreement states that if students miss more than 4 assignments in a 15 school day period, that we have to reevaluate to determine whether or not independent study is an appropriate placement. So for us, it's not a matter of students just showing up to school. It's a matter of us hounding them to say, hey, wait a second, you can't be here if you don't turn your work in. And those numbers are reflected in the percentages that you see listed here. Although we do have our repeat offenders that I'm constantly having to call home and write letters and do home visits and so forth because the kids aren't getting stuff turned in. So based upon COVID, obviously everybody's still feeling the effects of COVID. There are some things that we have done and some things that we have experienced that have provided us a shift in our focus, especially when it comes to student mental health. So based upon COVID, we identified that there was quite a bit of learning loss. In particular, we're seeing learning loss come, especially in the areas of students in math coming in from other schools. And at 7th grade and at 9th and 10th grade, we're seeing a huge decline. In fact, this year we had to start, we have an integrated one Math 1 class. It's been about 7 years since we had to split that and do an integrated Math 1A 1 year and Math 1B the second year as student sophomore year. We had to create an integrated Math 1A class this year because we had a significant number of students who came in really deficient in math skills. So in terms of identifying learning loss, we also not only shifted that, which I forgot to put that on there, but we also ended up creating math support that is offered to students 2 days a week, 72 minutes a day, and that is built into student schedules. We also have a reading strategies and support class that we have introduced, and that's primarily going to focus on the academic language, not necessarily the increased reading fluency. We're really trying to get students to understand the connection between academic language and performance and mastery of content. We also ended up, when we redid our charter in 2020, we stated that one way to grow River Valley was to create an independent study, a full-time independent study program, which we did. We anticipated that we would start this past fall, 2021. And we projected, okay, we'll start with 8 students. Well, that was that was a pretty liberal suggestion on our part. Turns out we had to speed up the process because we had students when we went into distance learning, our class day is 5 periods a day. With students working at home, doing 5 periods worth of work, having to stay on top of the work and having very strict deadlines to turn the work in became very challenging for students. Our full-time independent study program takes some of that stress out of it because the students, it's based on a quarter system, not a semester system. So the students are able to take 2 classes during one 9-week period and 2 or 3 classes during another 9-week period. And this provides an opportunity to focus on less work, but they have a shorter amount of time in order to complete it. Well, we thought, okay, we have some kids who are obviously very challenged. They're falling behind in the seat-based program that we converted to Zoom and to virtual learning. And we thought this would be a great opportunity for them. We would still be able to capture the ADA. The students will still be able to learn. We'll be able to focus and monitor a little better because the volume of work isn't there. Well, we ended up having that first semester, which we started January of 2021, rather than August of 2021, we had 14 students. And today we had 48 students. We had 12 seniors who ended up graduating from that program. And we have students who love it, who absolutely love it. We contract with BYU High School Suite of Classes. And for us, one of the things a couple of years ago during the board or the LUSD oversight meeting that was recommended to us is that we have to provide an opportunity to broaden our course of study for students. Well, BYU is allowing us to do it for our seat-based students as well as for the full-time independent study students. And we can bring opportunities for elective courses that we didn't otherwise have. It keeps down our costs because we don't have to pay teachers on site to provide these opportunities, but the students still get exposure. We're offering automotive basics next year. And boy, kids, when they get, of the age that they get their driver's license, I have a ton of kids who are signing up. It's a full independent study 1 semester course, but they will learn automotive basics. And so this is broadening the access to these courses for them. And at the same time, providing us an opportunity to sort of kind of get outside of our comfort zone and allow these students to spread their wings and help us to spread our wings along with them. One of the other things that we ended up doing is based upon feedback that we ended up gathering from students and parents. We brought Positive Change Counseling Center to River Valley's campus, and we have a therapist who is counseling students 12 hours a week on Thursdays and Fridays. And this has gone like gangbusters. And we're hoping, this is one of the things with it's so unfortunate for us because we do offer seat-based time for our students. Our students are on campus 40% of the week. We have a fully operational campus 4 out of the 5 days a week, and we are not eligible for that funding, for seat-based funding. One of the areas that potentially we will end up having to cut is the counseling. And we have the reserves, so we're hoping to be able to spend some reserves on providing the opportunity for students to maintain the counseling. But this has been a fantastic asset for students. And we have, in fact, the counselor, her last day was last Thursday because some students who couldn't see her on Friday because they were graduating from high school wanted the opportunity to see her one more time. She's extended hours to our students during the summer, and it is with every intention that we will provide this continuing into the fall. But it's just such a shame that this is something that it potentially could be slashed as a result of the lack of how we're identified with the state. One of the other things that we did, and Natalie, I don't know if you know about City Hope, but I can send you some information about City Hope. So do any of you know what City Hope is? So City Hope is an organization in La Mesa that provides access to traumatic situations and crisis response. They partner with different law enforcement agencies, as well as homeless shelters and domestic abuse shelters and so forth. And they're basically a warehouse of resources that they train their first responders to go out to these different locations. And once these volunteers go out to these different locations, they are not counseling, they're not providing anything beyond access to resources that City Hope has. We are the first high school that City Hope is partnering with. And we started our partnership with them in December. We have City Hope that came out and trained about 17 of our students, grades 7 through 12. We have designated student ambassadors whose responsibility it is, once they come on campus on their designated day, they wear their lanyard, and it is expected that any traumatic or crisis situation that ends up occurring, that student will be pulled from class, that student ambassador will be pulled from class in order to help those other students. And again, it's not counseling. They're not providing any counseling. They are the conduit that will help to provide the resources for the student in need. They have a man who comes out who brings his therapy dog. The therapy dog's name is Misty, and they come to campus every couple of weeks. And he just walks around and lets the students pet the dog, and the dog is a trained support dog, and it is just a fantastic opportunity. They do work with middle schools and they do work with elementary schools, but we are the first high school that they are working with, and it has been just an astounding, from parents, from students, just an astounding, overwhelming positive response that we've had from this organization. So our board composition has it changed slightly. We had one community member who ended up having to resign in January because she had to take care of an elderly parent. We had a parent representatives who had to go through the process from the parent constituency, and one of the parents was reelected to his position. Staff representation has not changed. So we are now at 7 members. We appoint community members in August, and we're not sure if this specific community member who served previously will be able to come back. We are down 2 teachers from last year. We had 13 teachers, 12 full-time, 1 part-time, 8 classified staff, 2 full-time, 5 part-time, 1 counselor, and 1 administrator. Fortunately, even despite the fact that we are not eligible for hold harmless funding, we did not have to give out any pink slips this year. If enrollment increases, we will see about hiring another science teacher, in part because we would like to bring robotics. We do have, with that online program I was telling you about, we do have computer science, but I would like to be able to bring robotics to the students, or in computer science to the students while they're attending classes on campus. Neither of our science teachers right now have the requisite credentials. So if we do have an opportunity to bring somebody on board, that's what we're looking to do. So I don't know if you guys realize that you had a board member serving on the County Board of Education. Faith Baptista, who is a student at River Valley, it actually states on her bio that she's 10th grade. She's actually on the county website. She's actually 11th grade. She is fantastic. And she just is this ball of energy who wanted to go out and see what it was like to serve in a capacity that she was able to provide help and assistance and make a difference. So I asked her to write up a blurb. She stated, as a student representative for the San Diego County Board of Education, one of the ways I was able to offer input was by voting yay or nay on propositions presented to the board. Though this vote did not serve as a legitimate number to sway decisions, it was designed to offer insight to the thoughts and opinions of the general student body I represented. However, I feel that the most influential form of input was the opportunity to share my thoughts and concerns regarding the education system, as well as my experiences as a student. I used this space to advocate for and emphasize the importance of students' mental, physical, and emotional health, especially as we emerge from a global pandemic, and encourage a greater allotment of resources towards improving students' quality of life. Though I felt like I had a pre-existing understanding of the challenges schools face, joining the board offered greater insight to their complexities as well as the unseen actions being implemented to remedy them. It was an honor to represent my school district and classmates, and I greatly enjoyed the opportunity. And the highlight of serving was the opportunity to be a part of my school community in a larger way and to meet the board members and fellow student representatives who are all advocating together for a better educational experience for the students of San Diego. So it was awesome. She had a really great experience. And because she's coming from East County and representing East County, she had a very thorough some thorough insight into what other students were experiencing, and certainly can't ask for more. So it was great of her to give her time. So one of the biggest challenges we face this year, and I don't know if any of you have school-age children applying to college right now, this was a humdinger of a year for college applications and admissions. It was on our end, our counselor and I were like, oh my gosh, what is going on? Why are our students not being accepted into these colleges and universities? So seniors this year were faced with many challenges for college admissions. The UC CSU system no longer accepts standardized tests, SAT and ACT, for college admissions purposes, and they will only consider international baccalaureate and advanced placement courses. Thus making it more difficult for our students to show academic promise, since River Valley only offers 3 AP courses. This year's admission, in particular, the UC CSU schools also allowed students from across the country to count courses taken during the pandemic for a grade of pass, no pass, credit, no credit, to count for meeting an A through G subject requirement, but the grades would not be counted against the student's GPA when going through the admissions process. This means there may have been students whose application showed a GPA based only on 3 semesters of actual GPA work, credit, and grades. 9th grade and fall semester of 10th grade. This year's seniors, it was 2nd semester of their sophomore year when the pandemic hit. River Valley students continued to learn and excel at a high level and were issued grades during the pandemic, and this may have hurt some of them, even though their GPAs far exceeded their potential cohort members. On this next slide, this was horrifying. We had students in our office crying because they're like, a couple of students, grade point averages 4.7. We had a student with a 4.76 UC A through G grade point average, did not get into UCLA. We had students who ended up not getting into UCLA or at San Diego State, but got into other schools. The first column is the student's grade point average. I identified how many AP courses they took, as well as how many college courses they took. The second column is the colleges where they were accepted. The middle column is where they were waitlisted. And the final column is colleges that they were rejected from. The student who is second from the bottom has a 4.6 GPA, 4.67 GPA, was accepted to UC Davis, waitlisted at UC San Diego, and denied at UC Santa Barbara, UC Irvine, UC Berkeley, and UCLA. With the UC system and the CSU system, you cannot petition a rejection if you do not have something substantive that will change the value of your application. So one of our students actually ended up petitioning UCLA because there were a couple of college courses that she was in progress taking at the time that swayed her application. And ultimately not UCLA, excuse me, UC Santa Barbara. And she ultimately got accepted to UC Santa Barbara after petitioning, but the other UCs she was denied. And if you look, there is a student who is on here who has the 4th one up from the bottom. He has a 4.8. He had 1 AP course, 6 college courses, and he was waitlisted at UCSD, UC Irvine, UC Santa Barbara, but gained admission to Santa Cruz and UCLA. There was just no rhyme or reason. Our counselor has been a reader for UC San Diego for about 8 years. She also was a reader for the University of San Diego. She primarily reads admissions applications and scores the applications from students out of state. And she had to reach out to UC Regents to say, what is going on? But this is universal, and schools in California have experienced this across the board. So for us, it makes it really difficult in trying to advise the students. We tell them that they need to have a safe school. They have to have a dream school, a reach school, and a safe school. And many of the students did not get into their safe school. And it has been just so tragic to see this. In the words of some students, what more could they have done? If you look on the next slide, our highlights, we turned 25 this year. So that was great. I turned to this because if you look at the 4th bullet down, As of today, we had 48 graduating seniors. Last year, we had 44, and our combined student body of the 44 graduates took 129 college courses. This year's graduating class of 48 seniors took a combined 181 college courses in their 9 through 12 college career. So to know, and on the prior slide, to see how many college courses these students took, and to know that they're being denied and that their scores are hinging upon the International Baccalaureate and the advanced placement is such a disservice to these students, because obviously passing college courses means that they are ready for college work and college material. And they have been just put through the ringer. They've really been put through the ringer. I'm going to give you a list. I didn't put this in the slideshow because it has the student names, but I'll give you a list so you can see where the students are attending. This is the back part of our program from graduation, and you will see some of these students are going to pretty significant schools majoring in math and aerospace engineering, business administration, biomedical engineering, computer science, physics and applied mathematics, physics, a lot of science. But you'll see these kids are not going for lightweight degrees. They are going for degrees that they've done a lot of work, that took a lot of courses, that shows their competency. So I'm hoping next year when I come back and I report, it's going to be very different, and the admission cycle for next year will look different than what this year's admission cycle did. I have to tell you, as a parent, my daughter experienced this last year, and it was really heartbreaking to see, like, oh my gosh, what is going on? But I'm a firm believer that students and my kids end up where they're supposed to be. But that doesn't make it any easier when you know they've put their heart and soul into doing the best that they possibly can, and then they have all of these rejection letters. And we have students who have lower GPAs going in as the same major, lower GPAs, one student versus another. And like, wait a second, she got into Berkeley, but I didn't. My GPA is 2 points higher. And it's astounding. It really is. So as a result, we will plug away, we will attend trainings and do what we can in order to find out what we need to do to advise students so they can make the best, most informed choices possible and decisions possible when it comes to their college application process in the fall. So we renewed, speaking of college, we ended up renewing our agreement with the Grossmont-Cuyamaca Community College District. Several years ago when I presented, I stated that we are trying to move in a middle college direction. It is very difficult for us to offer AP courses, in part because the students are only attending 2 days a week. On top of that, the college courses, students can take it in one semester. They end up not having to take an AP exam. And so a passing grade earns them that college credit. So for us, it's more beneficial to provide that opportunity and to have the students take those college courses. We have students who are taking these college courses, and now they can begin taking them on River Valley's campus. Next semester, we're starting with a History 115 through Cuyamaca College, History of the Americas, Comparative History of the Americas. In the following year, we will do Government and Econ. And we're hoping to also add, we have multiple teachers who have subject-specific master's degrees in linguistics, interdisciplinary studies, business management, history. And those teachers, through our agreement with Grossmont-Cuyamaca Community College District, will be able to take college courses on our campus, and they're only open to River Valley students. So this will provide an opportunity for parents who don't want to send their child to a college campus to take a course, and students who don't want to have to go through the rigor of taking an AP course and potentially not pass the exam to get the credit. This will provide an opportunity on our campus for students to take these courses. And the state has just now allowed community college courses to be offered within the scope of a student's scheduled school day. So this will not be a class early in the morning or late in the evening, so it won't impact students who are planning to participate in CIF sports. We are, one of the highlights was providing support for students' mental, social, and emotional well-being. And to me, one of the biggest highlights of this school year was our projects week. It's a week after state testing in May where we suspend student academics and students sign up for a project that is sponsored by a specific teacher. And our kids did a ton of stuff this year. We had jewelry making, we had gardening, we had art, we had students who went hiking and biking, and we had students who ended up doing independent projects. We had some students go to Panama to help build a school. Just a plethora. I used to take students, well, you may remember, I used to take students to Lakeview, and we used to do these big book projects. And it is a fantastic opportunity for the younger kids to meet and mingle and get to know some of the older kids. We had a sports project where we had 7th graders playing with seniors, basketball, wiffle ball, flag football, just learning the basic mechanics of different sports. It was a lot of fun. And just seeing the students decompress and come down from all of the pressures of school, and just being able to interact and mingle with one another was probably the highlight of my year. It was truly, truly awesome to see smiles on their faces, working with one another, having fun, being loud, being obnoxious and crazy and running around, getting their energy out, and just being kids. So it was great to see. So, okay. I always say I'm only going to keep it to 10 minutes, and I always end up talking longer. Any questions?
That I have. Any questions? Just thank you for your hard work and everything you do. You make us proud over there.
Thank
And
you very much.
by the way, I'm very sorry that Sacramento is so horrible. So, because that's exactly the problem.
Oh, it has been, our attorney has advised me to move forward, and I asked if we could get a waiver of ed code, because we do operate 80% of the week, and it's just not the same group of students. And our attorney said, well, we can investigate it, but we think actually the better course of action would be to take it forward legislatively and try to hit the new legislature in January. So I may be hitting you up. Okay. Yeah. So, all right. Thank you. Isn't that impressive? It is fantastic to see these kids, and to provide an opportunity for them just to have a safe space to learn how to be independent learners so they can tackle subject matter like this. It's awesome. So, all right. Thank you. You guys can make sure that because student names are on it, doesn't get out. So thank you very much. All right. Have a great summer, everyone.
Thank you. You too, Brooke.
And Natalie, if you're interested, let me know, and I'll give you the information about City Hall.
Thank you.
Okay. We will now have Beverly Jimenez give us an update on the LCAP.
Hello, everyone. I have to share my screen.
Did you have to accept. So look at your screen.
Okay. Last time I did this presentation, I was on Zoom, so used to being in person. So here we go. Let me go ahead and share my screen. All right. So I'm Beverly, and I am one of the coordinators of Ed Services. And today I get the pleasure of presenting the local indicators, which goes along with Dr. Winsper's presentation of the LCAP at the last meeting. So today we're going to be going over our progress in priorities 1, 2, 3, 6, and 7 today. So just to kind of review, the dashboard, as we all know, is the model that California uses, the accountability model that we use to basically help educators and families be able to identify district strengths and areas of improvement. And we have state and local measures that are annually reported on there. So on the dashboard, there are 11 indicators that measures performance of LEAs. 6 of them are state indicators, while the other 5 are local indicators. In today's presentation, we'll be focusing on the 5 local indicators. So what are the 5 local indicators? They cover areas of basic conditions, implementation of state and academic standards, parent engagement and parent and family engagement, school climate, and students having access to a broad course of study. So when it comes to reporting on these indicators, district performance is reported by meeting one of the standards, either met, or not met for 2 years. So there's 3 performance standards that we are measured upon, and you have to meet all 3 in order to get a met. So one performance standard that the SBE established was to annually measure its progress in meeting the requirements of the specific priority. In this case, I mentioned the 5. Reporting the results during a non-consent item during the same meeting that you approve the LCAP. And 3rd, reporting the results to the dashboard in the fall. So as long as you meet all of these standards, you get the met. So in regards to our progress in basic conditions, this covers everything from teacher credentialing to students having access to books and materials, and also the status of our facilities. In previous years, we used to have to report on the credentialing of teachers. But this year, the CDE is doing that for us, so they're going to be reporting that in the fall. In terms of books, again, we have 100% of our students have access to their own copies of standards aligned curriculum. And our facilities, we still have 9 of our schools not meeting the good repair standard, and this was based on the FIT tool or the facilities inspection tool that was done last fall, and it will be done again this fall. So this is from last fall still. Okay. In terms of priority 2, how we are progressing in the implementation of standards and curriculum, we look at areas such as professional learning, to alignment of instructional materials, to how well we support the instructional delivery, and also implementing other state standards. So in terms of professional learning, ELA, math and science are in the fully implemented stage, while ELA and actually it's ELD and history social sciences is still in the initial stages. In terms of alignment of instructional materials, our partners feel that we have been able to fully implement this in ELA and math, while science is still in the initial stage. ELD or English language development is still in the beginning development, and history social science is in the exploration and research phase. In regards to providing support for instructional delivery, we're in the full implementation stage for ELA and science, while ELD, social science are still in the beginning stages. Lastly, when it comes to implementing other standards such as CTE, health, PE, VAPA, and world language, they range from the exploration and research phase for CTE or career technical education to world language, which is fully implemented. Priority 2 also includes our progress in supporting teachers and administrators when it comes to professional learning needs. So when it comes to this, identifying the professional learning needs of individuals, groups, and teachers who are in need of mastering certain standards, as are all in the initial implementation stages. In terms of priority 3 is split into 3 areas. One of them is our progress in building relationships, in building partnerships for student outcomes, and the 3rd is seeking input for decision-making. And for building relationships, in terms of developing capacity of staff to build relationships with families, we are in the fully implemented stage. On the other hand, and also creating welcoming environments for them, we're in the full implementation stage as well. While the two-way communication and providing learning, supporting staff and learning about families' cultures are still in the initial implementation stages. In regards to building partnerships for student outcomes, implementing policies and programs for educators to meet with families and students regarding progress and supporting families in exercising their legal rights, as well as providing resources for families to support student learning are all in the initial phases, while professional learning and support to improve schools' capacity to partner with families is in the full implementation stage. And lastly, in terms of in the area of seeking input for decision making, we're still in the initial implementation phase here. When it comes to priority 6, this has to do with school climate. This was based on our California Healthy Kids Survey results, which was conducted in the fall as well. And this priority is focused on how students feel about safety at school and also how they feel in terms of being connected to school. And we surveyed our 5th and 7th grade students for this particular survey. And from the results, and also talking with Patty over here, we found that 5th grade students, 83% of them have a sense of safety when it comes to feel that they have a sense of safety, while 78% feel connected to schools. Additionally, about 82% of students were aware of the social emotional learning supports that they have at schools, and 76% of students did report having caring adults in school as well. Now, middle school, we surveyed our 7th grade students. It's a little different here. You'll see that only 59% of our 7th grade students reported a sense of safety, and only 60% reported feeling connected to school. And additionally, only 52% of them knew of the social emotional learning supports at their schools, while 58% felt that they have caring adults in school. So overall, based on these CHICS results, students at both grade levels feel less connected than they've been in previous years. Elementary grade students feel safer at school than years past, while those in middle school feel less safe. It's also apparent that students are feeling less motivated, especially those in middle school. Lakeside is responding by examining the causes of this decline, which most likely is due to this unprecedented COVID pandemic. So while we're looking at a continuous improvement project based on understanding these issues, we're looking into different types of interventions and how to analyze the progress of these students by implementing those in. So for continuous improvement, Lakeside will continue to develop the multi-tiered system of support to address the academic, behavioral, and social emotional needs of students. Each school site was also actually started this year implementing the Kid Watch protocol to improve student outcomes. And they're also looking into research-based social emotional curriculum and strategies to implement at sites as well. And the district will also be providing professional learning opportunities for staff around equity starting next year. And then lastly, the priority 7 has to do with our progress in ensuring that all students have access to a broad course of study. And the way that we measure this is looking at different reports and doing different queries from our student information system, which is Infinite Campus, and examining what courses students are taking, looking at data in Illuminate, using universal screeners, and also really looking at our master schedules to ensure that students are able to take these core courses and other courses. Some of the differences that you see is that elementary school students have access to all these classes at their sites, while middle school, they have to actually enroll in some of these courses. And depending on whether or not they are English learners or students with disabilities, they have the option of either taking one support class and one elective, or 2 electives if they're a gen ed students. So there's differences there. World Spanish and immersion class are also offered to all 6th through 8th grade students, and again, as I mentioned, our Gen 8 middle school students are able to take 2 electives, while our English learners and our students with disabilities have a support class and an elective. Some of the barriers is the fact that only two of our 6 elementary schools offer immersion programs. And again, going back to the fact that at the middle school level, instead of being able to have a choice of 2 electives, they have 1 support class and 1 elective for our English learners and students with disabilities. So that's something we need to look into. So our next steps is, again, to continue implementing the multi-tiered system of support, exploring ways to implement more of an inclusion model at the middle school level to help our English learners and our students with disabilities. And also continue to really prioritize reclassification within 5 years and making sure that we're continually monitoring the integrated and designated ELD coursework that we do at the schools as well. And that's all I have. Any questions? I should probably go back and say for priority 2 and 3, I know they were surveyed. That was a survey of parents during our DAC-DLAC meetings, as well as their principals and at their sites, at their SSC. So that's where that data came from.
Our long-term English learners that are beyond the 5 years before they're reclassified, what kind of percentage are we looking at kids getting reclassified in the 5-year period? And how, what percentage do we have that are still long-term English learners?
That is, I don't have the actual percentage, but we can actually figure out what that percentage is for that, for the LTELs. But yes, we can find out what the exact number is. For you.
Okay.
So you want the percentage? that are
percentage.
beyond
Well, I was
5
just
years?
wondering how, you know,
LTELs.
basically how are we doing it at reclassifying kids? Because I know it's a big thing to be reclassified, because then in middle school, if we could get them reclassified by middle school, they'll have the option of getting more electives. They won't have to take an EL class. And so I know working at the middle school level, it's really important to get kids reclassified before they hit middle school.
I know that from our LCAP metrics, there was a decline from, I just don't remember the numbers that there were.
Okay, thank you.
I do have a question. So on the, and Natalie, you may be able to help me with this too. So on our local measures, it says, you know, we have fully implemented, initial implementation. Can you just sort of walk me through how we define like fully implemented or initial implementation or beginning phase or all of that? I just kind of, I like to know how we're tracking that and measuring it.
So let me go back to those measures. So when it comes, it has to do with when we're fully implemented is what we're offering, I guess you could say, with the for ELA. When it comes to professional for ELA, that's our focus right now with the alignment calibration. So that's why we've been working on that for the last year. So that's why we're more in the full implementation stage. We're still not at the sustainable stage. So that's why we're kind of there.
Got it.
And then for history, we're working on finding, working on figuring out, eventually working on curriculum for that. So that's why we're still in the research phases because we haven't actually implemented that yet. So we're still working on that. And science, as well as kind of in the initial implementation, obviously, since you just adopted Amplify. So that's kind of in the implementation, the initial implementation stages as well. So it's based on, I guess, what we do for professional learning throughout the year. And right now the focus has been in ELA. Next year will be math. So then I'm sure that measure will change next year. And then when we start looking into history curriculum, then that would also change as well, going from, to maybe beginning development by the end of next year. And then science would probably go from initial to fully by the end of the school year too.
Got it.
Just depends where we are and what stage we are in terms of when it's adopted and when.
And what
teachers
supports
receive
we're
training.
providing for it,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
Okay, that's right. Thank you.
Yep.
And Beverly, correct me if I'm wrong, but this was something that was interesting for me in learning about all of this spring, was that this is actually a survey. So the way that we get these ratings is we give a survey to parents and our administrators. And so like what Beverly was just summarizing makes sense why they answered the way that they answered. But what I find interesting about how we do these is that it's via a survey. Because there were some things in there where I thought, well, I think we're actually more at the full implementation stage. Like that's my perception, but that wasn't the perception of the folks who took the survey, right? So we're reporting on what the perceptions were of the people who took the survey, not necessarily, but that gives us good data because it allows us to go back and say, so why did you rate this as an initial implementation and what could we do to get us to full? Like, what is it that is missing from what we're providing in terms of professional development, for example, that makes you think this would be at the initial implementation stage? versus the full implementation stage.
Mhm.
So
Oh, I
that
like-
was a
yeah.
learning for me.
Yeah, that's helpful. I'd never,
Teachers don't participate in this survey?
No, we do other surveys for teachers, but in terms of how we're supposed to gather this data, it's
Yes.
administrators and parent groups.
okay.
Well, I'm wondering how parents would even know what professional development has been going on in the different areas. So it would be hard, you know.
Do we ask the
So
teachers or the
with-
parents that
with-
one?
The parents, we only look at priority 3 because that's the parent and family
Oh, not priority
engagement.
two.
Yeah, priority would be principals. And then because they meet with teachers, so they they have a
And put it
better
on the
idea.
teachers. So
Yes.
priority 2 is teachers and principals.
Mhm.
Priority 3 is the parents.
Parents.
Okay.
That makes more
Yes.
So I was gonna say, I don't know how they would
Yep.
know what PD's going on.
Yeah.
No, that's helpful. Thank you. I've always, when I've looked at it, I ask this almost every year because I kind of like to hear what it remind me how we determine what fully implemented is, because
Mhm.
I'd love to see all these things fully implemented.
Yep.
So, thank you.
So we're working towards.
Any other questions?
Other question?
Thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. We will now move to our items of business. So I need a motion to designate the consent agenda. Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye. Anything we'd like to pull? I'd like to pull 2.4. Anything else? Okay, so then I'd like to entertain a motion to approve all items except for 2.4.
I'll make that motion.
You can put Don down.
Okay, Don seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, on item 2.4, I need to kind of read a Brown Act requirement here. So the next item is the employment contract between Assistant Superintendent Natalie Winspear and Governing Board of the Lakeside Union School District for the 22-23 school year, with a 2-year renewal upon the 22-23 evaluation meeting or exceeding expectations. The agreement includes an annual salary of $184,373.70, which shall increase annually based in accordance with the superintendent salary schedule and longevity provisions. The district will contribute the same health and welfare benefits and premiums for term life insurance for the assistant superintendent as certificated management employees, and she will receive a monthly automobile and mileage stipend in the amount of $500 and a monthly expense stipend in the amount of $400. Do I have any discussion? Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll move. I move that the board take the final action to approve the employment contract between the Assistant Superintendent Natalie Winspear and the Governing Board for a 1-year term starting July 1st, 2022, and a 2-year renewal upon 2022-23 evaluation meeting or exceeding expectations.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, now I'll go back to my agenda here. All right, we have enrollment report for the month ending June 3rd and month ending June 10th.
Not, not a lot since last week when we did month 9. And so now this is at the end of the school year with month 10 and 11. I feel like I did look back on from month 9, which was through April to the 1st of May to now at the end of the school year. Just that time period, we did drop 13 students. So I think we're seeing month over month, a little bit of what we've kind of been anticipating is that some students and families are moving. And I would say that's probably the majority of this 13 was that movement. And so we're just continuing to watch that enrollment going into next year. Our registration process.
Now we'll move to our labor partners. Is Carrie Strong in the room?
No.
She's not, okay. then we will move to David Myers, who is here with us. Come on up, sir.
And the crowd roars.
So excuse me, I've got this congestion and non-COVID related, but I just want to say, so we're coming to the end of our school year and our classified people are been working hard at closing out our school year. Been fantastic. I've been consumed with, I have a new position in our maintenance department, so I've been pretty much learning whatever I can from, I'm taking over for Ron Mazzulli. So he's got a week left. So I'm trying to cram everything that I can possibly get from him and learn as much as I can, which has been tremendous. Don't have a whole lot. I mean, everything right now has been great. We've had, I'm happy that we've had a lot of promotions within our district and moving some people up, which is fantastic. I'm all for promoting within. And I know we just got some more emails just went out. We're posting a lot more job descriptions that are coming up and some new appointments. So I'm excited for the movement. I think it's going to be great. So other than that, I really don't have a whole lot. So thank you.
Thanks, sir. Thank you.
Thanks to the maintenance department for that is set up over.
Yes.
It's quite a chore.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work to set up and tear down, but get it done and it turned out really well this year.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, off to Lisa Davis will present business and operations updates.
I don't have anything to report out from a week ago.
Yep.
It's okay.
Other than that, we approved the budget tonight.
Oh, I haven't read.
Oh, no, I'm talking about this budget just now.
Oh,
This,
oh,
our
yes,
budget. Our
yes.
budget that, by the
Yes.
way, meets my maxim of in the black happy, in the red sad. So
I knew you would like this.
yeah,
Yes.
I love seeing
Yes.
that. I love seeing that. That's great.
We are, yeah. I'm
So
just
great work.
anxiously awaiting to hear when the governor.
Yeah, he hasn't done anything yet.
No, he'll wait till.
Yes, he will. Yes, he will. Okay, thank you. Dr. Natalie Winspear will present educational services updates.
So I don't have a whole lot after last week either. I just wanted to say thank you all. I am super excited to serve as the assistant superintendent in this district. So I'm looking forward to doing some amazing work with the team here, all of us together. And the one update I would give from last week is that we did have Grace Dearborn here on Monday and Tuesday of this week. She, as always, was very well received. I saw her on Wednesday, Dawn, and she said, I think I harassed one of your board members on accident.
Because she wanted me to sign one of the 4 quadrants, and I said, I'm not gonna stay the whole time, so I don't want to be assigned a quadrant part. So I did, she just saw me not participate.
She did. And she's.
She was making me
Yeah.
accountable, but I was saying, and so I went up and explained, the reason I did want somebody, because they wouldn't have a partner later on in the day if I left her, so.
Yeah, I thought it was funny. She said
I
it was,
love
it's a training on participation, so I had to make
I
sure
love that.
everyone was participating.
You know what? I love that because it means that what we're paying her for,
She's
it's
doing
happening.
it. Yep.
She-
and
I like
she's-
it.
She cracked the whip.
I like it.
Yeah.
That's good.
She's amazing. And the feedback from staff was awesome. And classified employees always reach out after and say, thank you so much for including us. So we're already trying to book her for classified PD day in January because they always ask for more. So we're going to try and provide more of Grace Dearborn. And today, Stephanie Jakes facilitated some training on Imagine. She didn't provide the training. She organized the training on Imagine Learning, which is an evidence-based intervention program that we've also adopted in the district. We did not have as many people sign up for that as we did for Grace that we had hoped. But we decided to move forward anyway, because the folks who signed up wanted to get the training. So Stephanie facilitated that today, and I'm sure that was also excellent training. We had it over at LMS. So that's all that's new since last week.
Thank you. Dr. Rhonda Taylor.
So again, I also attended the Grace Dearborn training for Monday, and it was really interesting. It's fun to go and be a learner alongside the teachers and do that part of it as well. And she was very dynamic and very well received. We also have been busy planning our principals retreat for tomorrow. So we'll be doing some work in here in the boardroom from 8:30 to 12. If you want to stop by and say hi, then we'll be in here doing that. Going to have some fun activities involved with that too. There may or may not be balloons. I think there may. Just again, been talking, we have Jim Meitzel is taking the flex position and been talking with teachers. I've been talking with him and some other people that'll be involved with that, trying to really dial in that program so we can get it innovative, up, running. We're going to focus on our flex program next year and then start advertising that as an in-person, see how many bites we can get, see how many teachers we can put up there and run with it. So I'm really excited about that. So again, thank you guys for your support and all of those endeavors.
Okay, if there's nothing else before us, we're going to move to closed session.
Yeah.